Well, all right then. Welcome back to Divas, Diamonds, and Dollars podcast. We empower women who seek whole life strategies for living her best life. We bring the key success principles on personal finance, leadership, and business to support you as you grow into the best version of yourself. Follow us to get ahead and succeed at a higher level. We are your hosts, Larisa Troche and
Cecilia Benford.
now, as you know, there's a name for everything every 5 minutes. And I guess maybe that's what we want to give credit for is people coming up with a new name. And then today's topic is polyworker. I guess that seems to be the flavor of the week, as they say. No matter how you slice it, though, I think people are waking up to the realization that having only one source of income is just not the smart way to go.
True, true. In fact, I'm pretty sure we can all agree one won't get rich working just a 9 to 5 job. And even that in and of itself, as I slowly said that, a 9 to 5 job. Okay, so let's think about that. While there is more to life than just working, everyone wants to feel like they are making progress and not just slogging along. Truly. What that means is we must be intentional about our work choices, and sometimes that means doing things a bit different than what is considered the norm, especially today.
And, I got those wandering eyeballs, and read a recent article by Forbes.com which described a trend where people are finding themselves, quote unquote, doubling down on increasing their income by taking on additional work outside of, their quote unquote 9 to 5. And the author dubbed them as poly workers. Okay, fine. I've also heard the term multi hyphenate, which I don't like that one either. It gets my
Oh, called what?
multi hyphenate puts a cramp in my tongue. Ah,
Oh my goodness.
having come to the realization, if you will, that being dependent on one paycheck, beholden to the great wizard behind the green curtain, is risky business. Many people are working more than one job concurrently, hence polyworker.
Hmm.
Not to take any away from the author, William Arruda writes that polyworking is becoming, quote unquote, more popular as it helps people build more financial security because, they have more income. I get it. It also helps them build new skills. It definitely gives them an opportunity to network and, frankly, express their creativity. And that's the part that I like. If you have a boring job, you need a release. Um, and in particular, he also posits, however, that companies themselves benefit from polyworking employees because the employee is in learning mode and growth mode, and therefore more innovative at work. So essentially a win-win. All excellent reasons, I would say, for both sides. And for this side of the table, however, we like to use the term multipreneur. And all of those reasons that he stated, sure, I'm thinking on the financial aspect, but okay. Multipreneurship is fully diversifying your income. And when I say fully, as a multipreneur, income diversification, sure, it could include corporate income. Why not? However, it most certainly includes business income as well as investment income, threefold avenues to increase your financial security, if you will. So let's take a look at how you can manage all three of those areas.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So, as I think about how one should maximize their W-2 earnings, and for anybody listening, I'm pretty sold on the word should. I was talking to a young man recently, and he was in a field where he was passionate about what he was doing. Next thing I know, he said, "No, I'm tired of working." I'm like, "Okay, but you still need roof over your head." And guess what? I may well lob this out there. We don't know what Social Security is going to look like in the future. So, having said that, Maximizing your W-2 earnings, and Louise, as you said, diversifying your income. So, whatever your job title is and whatever your pay rate, you can impact your earnings. And so you are in control. And so I always think that no matter what you're doing or how you feel about your job or not, keep a competitive edge on being hired, whether it's through customers liking what you have or on the current job that you're sitting on or through consulting. So this makes you adaptive and resilient to the winds that blow in the world, right? I think that's really important today. So first and foremost, you want to, make sure you're educated so that you can negotiate, what your bottom line is. But before you can do that, are there any gaps in your knowledge base? Sometimes when I'm reading people's proposals, obviously it's my job, my role as a coach to figure out, are they missing something, right? So, research employees that you want to work for with your title at other companies. How do you stack up? Sometimes people are so into, oh, I bring all this, I'm like, well, do you really? So stand out with certifications and skill upgrades. Your name alone, particularly if someone doesn't know you, is not enough. You got to have some paper behind it. How about knowing your worth and negotiate accordingly? I think this too is a big one where actually you can do both. You can negotiate too low, but you can also negotiate too high. Both are real factors. And then make the pitch for what you want. So in order to negotiate what you're going to bring to the table, educate yourself first. How about being proactive and not reactive? Again, I started out by saying always keep a competitive edge. That's your being proactive. You don't want to be in a situation where in fact, something's happened and you're like, oh, now what do I do? Or how do I deal? Right. So, whatever it is, if you like what you're doing or if you don't like what you're hearing, you want to keep, if you want to keep your job, you want to take control. So I don't feel like quiet quitting and coffee badging will serve you very well. I don't feel that in spite of what's being done, quiet quitting, which is a little bit not so quiet when you go out on TikTok and people are quitting and saying what they want to say publicly. Where in the world that came from, I have no idea. But I was listening to a job or headhunter sort of person who saying they're trying to educate people, saying really that's not acceptable and that people are looking at that. So first and foremost, being quiet is not the thing to do. You should be a leader. That's about being proactive. Be a standout. That's who people are looking for. If you're quietly doing things and behind the scenes or sneakily, ooh, I'm going to put you on blast on the internet. That's that's not proactive. You must be reacting to something in my view. So speak up for what needs to be done. That's always a good thing. Certainly, if things aren't working for you or you know how things could be better, do speak up. People are good at, listening for ideas, although I kind of stumbled through that because I was just thinking about, well, we were saying, okay, what do you bring to the table? That's a lot of it, right? But I believe when you do speak up about what needs to be done, it's usually going to be a win-win because you're going to connect the dots for, the company or for some future business that you're into. And then you want to network appropriately intra-departmentally. So um, that is huge. What you share, how people are going to look to you, even though you don't think they are. They're like, oh, okay, she really has it going on. This is useful, this is helpful. And you know what? You can even create a job that wasn't even there. Isn't that right, Larisa?
Speaking of,
That's right. And so I know people are kind of hesitant to make suggestions for improvements, but I always believe I'd rather make the suggestions rather than sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, why are they doing this? Speak up. Okay, how about delegate to dominate? Yeah, how about that? So, focusing on the systems and procedures aspects will help you optimize output, right? How can you not? If you don't know what's happening within, whatever the systems and procedures are, because a lot of times people just get stuck. They don't know which way to go. Um, and so maybe they're not completing their objective. And that's because they haven't, really looked at these things. Sometimes people don't look at what's in front of them, but you really need to kind of go beyond that. So in your leadership role, certainly you will work more effectively if you distribute the workload throughout your team and without trying to do it all yourself. That is one of the hardest things to get across to leaders. And it's a fear factor is, well, I built it. It's the founder syndrome. Nobody knows this. I'm the one that has all the passion. But if you're doing it all, somehow something is not as good as it could be. Okay. Create opportunities for your team members to advance as well. So when you're delegating, that helps them grow, which helps you be a better leader because that helps you look out and beyond. It helps you continue a strategic upward um, thinking, planning, growing your goals, checking where things are. So create opportunities for your team and then just, have that conversation with them. So all of these will help you, um, in my mind, with making you adaptive and resilient to things that might come along. So income diversification. How do we do that? Investments are certainly the key. When you think of your job or even your business to some degree, primarily you're thinking about meeting today's needs. It's just not sitting there and things are happening by itself, right? Um, Investment income is really about bright tomorrows. I know we all know people who, let's say you're looking at them today and either you're having a conversation with them or you see how they never thought that this day would arrive, right? And so I, it, the word I used earlier, I prefer to be proactive really about everything. I don't want life to just happen to me. And so when you are investing, you're investing for the long-term goals. This is different than you're saving something for a short-term goal. People need to keep that straight. They're like, oh, look what I did. Okay, but what is happening beyond that date? Okay, that trip that you're planning for. Plan ahead and save for big ticket items. If you can put off one, I had a situation recently and I was like, I really, really don't want to do this as a household item. And so I just decided, and I had some backup, had a warranty, but the warranty that was maybe going to be questionable because, big ticket item. Anywho, but I looked at, okay, where was this in my program? Could I take it out of savings? Yes. But do I want to? I absolutely did not. So sometimes you got to do some little, more thinking about it. Don't impact your savings if you can at all avoid it. Okay. Invest for retirement. Well, you know what? Praise the Lord. I am retired. I did invest for retirement, but it is a challenge for many. And sometimes it's such a challenge, you almost hate to say that to some people, but by the same token, you just really must hopefully invest through your job if available. And however, you must also invest outside of your company's offerings. Now, I'm going to say something that's probably going to be unpopular for some, But I've been kind of following the Boeing situation where they stopped their pensions. Well, that is sad, it's unfortunate, but they're not the first company who's done that. It was a huge issue here in Dayton, Ohio. We had all this auto manufacturing. There were people who really lost their monies. Like I said, it's a whole thing. And I even understand, had, believe it or not, through the government, because we work with these big companies, what Boeing's strategy actually does to the stock market, for example. So, it's all connected. So, this goes back to we want some things, but some things are outside of your control. You need to take hold of those things that are in your control. And I think you would. Did you want to say something, Risa?
Going to comment that I mean, I haven't taken a deep dive, but I've also been following Boeing because their planes are falling out the sky. So I would definitely check the headlines. But that taking away the pension happened years ago, and that was what one of the strike reasons was they wanted their pension back.
Right.
And pensions are from days of yore, if you will. Quote unquote, only 17% of companies have pensions today. And people
That's right.
keep wanting to turn back the clock and living in the past. It's like this point,
Not gonna happen.
it's not going to happen if you don't have a pension. First of all, even if you have one, it stands to reason it's possible you could lose it. You have to take care of yourself, I guess, is where I was really going with that.
Hmm.
It's such a small anomaly, and I think they're going to keep chipping away at it because it's not profitable to the companies, and
We have to remember that's their bottom line is
that is
profit.
exactly why they exist, to make them money, not give you money. They give you money because they have to, but they want to make those profits, and that is the
Yeah.
primary focus of those. Pensions are not going to be on the table for much longer, so don't wait. And the last thing I want to say about investing for retirement, I was talking to my son, and I shared with him my situation, and he's like, "Well, what do you mean? I'm doing it. I thought I'm doing it." Because I finally twisted his arm and he started his 401k, but it's not, he's not maxing it out because, he's, concerned. I keep saying, but he's
Mostly because he's
about,
young, but
he just, short of throwing up his hands, well, I started too late and I just this. I'm like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter when you start. The important thing is that you start, and no
that's
one else
right.
is going to take care of you. So, and the last thing that I probably said that a second ago is that sometimes the other reason to invest outside your company is sometimes the offerings in the 401k are a little, they're not the best options. I will say, as a matter of fact, my 401k, I did pretty darn good. And then they took away two of the funds that I was invested in. I was like, excuse me, hello.
Mm.
And they said because only two people were in them. Well, that's because they're doing good. And I just, people don't take the time to educate themselves. So let me get off my soapbox right now. Please carry on.
All right, moving right along with this more education. Know your risk factor and your timeline. So, everything we just said, you know, who you are, what you think. You need to know if you're going to toss and turn or wherever up and down cycle of the stock market, as people do. Again, I could say something about how the stock market performed last week, but I will not. Just keep that in mind. Who are you? How are you impacted? You need to know when you plan to take money out. The longer the time horizon is, the more opportunity for growth. But yeah, folks, it comes with volatility. Okay. So choose the appropriate asset mix for your time frame and your risk tolerance. Even talking to a financial planner, and hopefully the planner will ask you the right questions to help you understand your risk tolerance. Why are you in the market? What do you want? Or even if they ask you the hard question, well, how come you won't give me more money to manage? You know what? You need to be able to understand who you are in that sphere because it's your money, it's your time, it's your retirement. Okay. And even when people say, well, I'm never going to be able to retire. Well, you know what? You might be forced to retire. So don't use that as an excuse not to save money. I hear that and it just, it's rather bothersome. It's like, okay, people, you think you won't, but you could be forced to retire. And guess what? sometimes you really may just say, oh, do I have to go another day? Put
Mm.
yourself where you can truly
Have-
rest on what you have, okay, and not forced to do something you don't want to do. So choose wisely. All of this is choice, people. Choice, choice. And guess what? Wise choices. Okay. So while you can usually make more money in the stock market, if you're not going to do your homework, choose, like I say, less volatile options, more safe things like mutual funds, exchange traded funds, or a lot of times you'll see them as ETFs. You'll still need to do your research. However, you won't necessarily need to learn as much about individual stocks. Okay, so I probably said enough of my values and personal opinions, but although I think they're pretty good, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Sister Dear.
Now we've talked about two possible ways to make some money. And again, we feel you should diversify your income sources. And honestly, I think there's a place for entrepreneurship for everybody. Most, let me rephrase that, for most folks. I
Mhm.
meant most folks. So one of the key reasons to have a business is for the tax benefits. I don't know why people don't even pay attention to that. I'm not trying to pay any more taxes than I have to. And frankly, because as you make more money, Uncle Sam wants a bigger cut. And that way, that is the primary reason to me is you need business income and you need to run your business like a business, meaning that you're aiming for profit, um, so that you can take advantage of the many ways to reduce your tax burden. And obviously, I'm not an accountant, but there's so much information out there, but you need to do what you can to keep more money in your pocket because again, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, right?
Mhm.
Now, as a business owner, there's so many things that people can do, and so many things that people are doing, and women still lead the pack, or lead the charge, however you want to say it, in terms of starting businesses, primarily small businesses. But my position is we want you to limit your overhead, because I just told you keep more money in your pocket. We advocate for the B3 business model that is bootstrapped and built on brain power.
Woohoo.
So you don't have to manage inventory, shipping, and all that entails. Not everyone wants to be a realtor, I know, which is one of the primary ways I do make some additional income is selling real estate, but not everyone's into real estate. I get it. It's not easy. But listen, what you can do, and I know you can, is creative once, get paid many types of businesses like semi-passive digital offerings. I'm telling you, there's a course inside you, print on demand. People still want to drink coffee out of a special mug. I don't have one, but I know people do like those.
Mm-hmm.
Teas, if you got any fashion sense, but you know what? You can always copy somebody. But even paper templates, right? That is a thing. And look for mine coming around the corner as soon as I tie myself to my computer. But anyway, ebooks, anything digital on a computer that you can just create it and then it sell. Well, you have to market it; it will sell. But or even home service type businesses. I was watching a video which was kind of interesting. Almost had me take a detour. But think about Angie's List, if you will. Most people have heard of Angie's List, and there was another one that actually I think she bought out. But you know what it is, if you need something fixed on your home, you just go online, you make a reservation, you make the payment. Angie's not doing all that work. She's using subcontractors to do the work wherever the
Right.
people happen to be. And it's just very interesting. It's a thing, but you have to really think it out. Lawn care business, I wouldn't do that in Manteca because everybody's a landscaper out here. But for
Mhm.
example, depending on where you are, that's a viable thing, viable option. House cleaning, sure, you don't want to be cleaning toilets, but someone over there doesn't mind doing it. So, having a home-based, not home, well, home-based, home service business, a business providing home services can be a lucrative option that you're not out there doing the labor, you're using someone else's labor. And if you're a coach, I know that's also very popular. I don't call myself a coach. I happen to be a mentor. Um, I'm not trying to work that hard. But look at group coaching. or definitely build packages so you can kind of regulate your income a bit. And somewhat more hands-on, I think Cecilia briefly touched on it, which is consulting, training, or even team sales, which is what real estate is you're at the top of the pipeline and then you make money when your team makes money. So there are so many different ways that you can run a business with limited overhead. But in order to do that, of course, you do need to build your brand. Build your community before you launch your B3 business. Lessons hard learned. Okay. Okay. You will need to continue to market even after you open your doors. However, if you have cheering hordes at the ready, that will help you get off to a strong start. So even if you're not sure what type of business you want to start, you can start doing that mingling right now. Right now. Now, I talked about your taxes, so what I am going to also remind you is that you must keep excellent records. Document. May I use the word document? Keep your receipts. Update your records weekly and quarterly. Use software if you have a high volume of transactions, so you can track everything, but it also allows you to print important records as well. QuickBooks is a popular one, but that's old school. I know there's several more, but that's just the one that comes to mind. And it's a fairly user-friendly program. And with that entrepreneurship, you want to have a millionaire's mindset, whether you're a millionaire today or it's coming around the pipe tomorrow. Because reportedly, self-made millionaires, and that's what I'm talking to today, typically, always in quotation marks, have about 7 sources of income. And it makes sense, if you will, to keep your job as you're building those other income streams. There's nothing like having paid benefits, okay, medical, dental. You need all that. And until you can pay for it on your own, you might as well let your boss
True.
pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, again, maximize your career while you got it. Full-time work with benefits and a decent check are nothing to sneeze at. So hold on to it while you build your business lines. And it sounds obvious, but I'll just say the words: start your business on the side. It takes time to build your customer base. So keep working and be a moonlighting money maven until you're ready to cut the apron strings. And that means that you have some money saved up. I guess if you're 20, which we are not, by the by, you've got time to make up a hiccup. But most of us have gotten used to eating regular meals and keeping a roof over our head. So not going to do anything too foolish. So have some, I used to call it attitude money, but you want to have what's it called? Several months worth of living expenses saved up before you decide to take that jump. And you must invest. Time in the market versus trying to time the market. It's time in the market. Invest early and invest often so you can reap the benefits of the rule of 72. The rule of 72, you can Google it. That tells you how quickly your money will double. Frankly, I just checked my 401k. That's how that conversation with my son came up. I checked my 401k and it is set to double in 5 years. I thought it's pretty darn exciting because I was wondering how I was going to get there. Which is when I plan to retire. I'm in my 5-year time window. And so I feel pretty good about that idea.
Good, good, good. Very good. Well, folks, we're going to wrap up all this amazing information and hope that you're excited about getting those creative juices together and, putting a little discipline on the side to get you down the road with these things. So, how do we do that? Take inventory of your skills and interests. You have skills, you do have interests. So, do a Google search, YouTube search. Hey, there's so much information out there, is there for the taking. And so when you do that, you'll be able to see if there's enough interest to monetize your skills, knowledge, and abilities and create a business around them. Take action on that today. So With that, I'm going to leave you a Divalicious pro tip, and that is we're in the month of November. And I forgot to say Happy Veterans Day. That's the reason for the colors I have on. Doesn't necessarily represent everybody, but it made me think of that. So, and Happy Veterans Day to my sister who was a veteran. My support came through the government side of, the support. So, but anyway, very happy that I had two sisters who were in the military. So I, I need to make that shout out before I make the next one, which is November 30th is a Small Business Saturday. So as you patronize your local stores, be sure to connect with local business owners and follow up for mutual benefit. And there usually is. So that's today's podcast, Divalicious Pro Tip, where that's a new term for me. So we have all these acronyms. I gotta say the words because acronyms abound. But if you'd like to join us for a weekly Q&A on Facebook Live, look for that. My dear sister is spearheading that. So keep your eyes open for a private Facebook group of Divas, Diamonds, and Dollars, Insider Circle. Friend Larisa, who has a lot of these things already in the works, and she will send an invitation for you to join. See you there.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for visiting with us. We hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it, and we will see you next week. Cheers.